so happy to change the truth of your life. You know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house thinking they was finna dance?
When you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You should have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there.
This is not just another celebrity scandal. It is a story about two men. One is a comedian who has been warning people for years, and the other is a famous Hollywood actor who says he experienced these things himself. Katt Williams spoke about these issues long ago. Terrence Howard says he lived through them. Now, both men are speaking more openly. For years, many people called them angry, difficult, or crazy, but maybe the real reason they were pushed away was because they refused to follow the rules of the industry. There were private invitations, unusual meetings in expensive homes, and hidden expectations that few people talked about publicly. Rumors about these situations spread for years. People whispered about them backstage, hinted at them in interviews, and treated them like dangerous secrets. There were exclusive parties where phones were not allowed, black SUVs arriving late at night, and private rooms hidden behind other private rooms. Many people felt these invitations were not always a real choice. For a long time, these stories remained rumors until Terrence Howard began sharing his experiences.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f you. That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands-off with somebody.
In March 2024, federal agents searched Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. Reports said they found surveillance equipment, many non-disclosure agreements, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Diddy's lawyer tried to explain the situation by saying the products had been purchased from Costco. However, Costco later denied selling them. As strange as that detail sounded, it reminded many people of comments Katt Williams had made years earlier. His jokes and stories suddenly seemed much more connected to the news people were seeing.
You can't be so happy to change the truth of your life. You know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house thinking they was finna dance? How does that feel? You a grown-ass man. You gotta leave Diddy's party like that. You can't even sit down in the car. You gotta drive all the way home, standing up. Whew. Can't roll the window down. You roll the window down, that breeze hit that open air and start blowing, and you start saying, 1,000 bottles of baby. It ain't that much ass in the world. Everybody know that. Diddy's dumbass lawyer said he probably got it at Costco. I didn't say it too much. I said I wasn't gonna do this. I was just gonna tell my jokes, get the f up out of here. But 1,000 bottles of baby oil? It wasn't just what they found. This is what they didn't find. It was 233 cameras in that house. In one house. But what didn't they find? It wasn't one Bible in that. Wasn't no living plants in that motherfucker. Wasn't no vitamins. And no handcuff keys.
For some people, these comments sounded like nothing more than a joke, but for others, they felt like a warning. According to Katt Williams, this was never just about one person. It was not only about Diddy. He believed it was part of a larger pattern built into the entertainment industry itself. When someone becomes powerful, famous, and protected, normal rules often stop applying to them. And when people are afraid to speak out, private gatherings can become places where pressure is used to influence others. Power becomes valuable and silence becomes expected. Many people like to believe that Hollywood rewards talent, hard work, and dedication. They want to think that the best people naturally succeed. But behind the scenes, things may work differently. Sometimes moving forward requires saying yes to things you do not want to do, and sometimes protecting yourself means refusing those opportunities. Terrence Howard says he repeatedly refused those offers, and each time he did, another opportunity disappeared.
Number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing. And I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that because the man card means everything.
Terrence Howard says he stayed true to his personal beliefs. He did not take part in things he felt uncomfortable with, and he refused to compromise in ways he believed were wrong. As a result, his opportunities became fewer, and stories about him began appearing in the media. The industry became quieter around him. He turned down money, comfort, security, and even opportunities that could have made him an even bigger star. Instead, he chose to stick to what he believed was right. According to this narrative, the cost of that decision was high. It was not only about losing jobs or movie roles. There were negative news stories, damaging rumors, and questions designed to make him appear unstable or difficult. Speaking out once is difficult enough. Continuing to speak after facing criticism and rejection is even harder. In their view, they were not simply rejecting parties or invitations. They were rejecting an entire system. And people who challenge powerful systems often face serious consequences.
They don't want him or me or people like us. But now it's not necessary for us to stir up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times. I'm still not going to join, but I respect it a little more.
All right. How do you handle that? Because they put your name in the press with a lot of rumors and a lot of situations that they try to put on Katt Williams. Do you feel ever the need to, like, I gotta go defend this and put out a story about who I am, or do you just let that kind of like roll off your back? Well,
as you can see, I've let it all go for quite some time, and a lot of that is just based upon the fact that I don't really know how to complain because all of the people that I ever looked up to had to go through it too. So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my uncles. So now I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but you know, I'm concrete in all things because of He who strengthens me. So that doesn't mean I always make the right decisions, but I am going to stand by what I stand for.
Many people laugh when Katt Williams makes bold or unusual claims during his comedy performances. It is easy to assume he is exaggerating for entertainment or creating shocking stories to make audiences react. But when real news events seem similar to things he talked about years earlier, some people begin to see his jokes differently. What once sounded funny can start to feel more like a warning. Katt's message is not only about parties, celebrities, or personal choices. He describes what he believes is a culture built on secrecy, silence, and control. In that environment, power is not simply used openly. Instead, it becomes part of a system that operates quietly behind the scenes. According to him, people are expected to follow certain rules, remain silent about what they see, and accept things they might not normally accept. That is why some listeners believe his stories are about much more than comedy.
These things that I'm saying in Hollywood exist in religious circles, in politics, in the medical profession. If it's car theft and we're going to accuse you of having a carjacking ring, right? We're going to begin by bringing in people that we caught.
When authorities searched Diddy's homes in 2024, most news coverage focused on the baby oil, the NDAs, and the surveillance equipment. However, Katt Williams viewed the situation in a different way. He believed it revealed how powerful people can influence others around them. Rather than focusing on individual items found during the investigation, he focused on what he believed was a larger system of influence and control. To him, the situation looked like a game of strategy, where pressure on one important person could affect many others connected to them. He argued that what seems normal on the surface can sometimes be used to hide deeper issues. People may believe they are simply networking, building relationships, or advancing their careers, while other forces are operating behind the scenes. According to this perspective, these situations are not random events, they are repeating patterns, and once someone begins noticing those patterns, it becomes difficult to ignore them. In Katt's view, understanding those patterns is like seeing the strategy behind a chess game rather than only watching the individual moves.
I understand what is worth doing for ratings. I understand what is worth doing when the industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about either of them. This is how quarterbacking goes. So the question is, hey, your quarterback just got sacked. Did we know we was fin to sack your quarterback? We absolutely did. It was a play, buddy. We've been rehearsing it, working it out, making sure that at some point, when you get to this level, we can make sure we knock you from a $20 million man to putting in the news that people won't hire you no more and your career is done. Yeah.
In many industries, people who expose corruption are often protected and supported. But according to this narrative, Hollywood works differently. People who speak out are often pushed aside and labeled as bitter, unstable, or difficult. The argument is that this happens not because they are lying, but because what they say threatens the image that powerful people want to maintain. Katt Williams has often used comedy to discuss these topics. One of his jokes involved the baby oil controversy, using humor to suggest that there may be more happening behind the scenes than the public realizes. While many people laughed at the joke, others believed he was making a larger point about how power operates in the entertainment industry. His supporters argue that comedy sometimes allows uncomfortable truths to be discussed in a way that people are willing to listen to.
They put the drugs in the baby oil. You thinking you getting a massage? You can't even get up. That's why God gave me eczema. I can't even use, baby.
For some viewers, these jokes no longer feel like simple entertainment. They seem more like observations about how influence and control can be hidden behind ordinary situations. According to people who claim to have worked around powerful circles, certain behaviors become normal because they are presented as part of success, luxury, and opportunity. Some insiders have suggested that silence is expected and that people quickly learn not to discuss what they witness. One anonymous source claimed that people are only welcomed into certain spaces if they prove they can keep secrets. Another source reportedly said that NDAs are often used to protect those environments before anything even happens. Whether these claims are true or not, supporters of this theory believe they reveal a system where access is exchanged for loyalty and silence, In their view, keeping quiet becomes one of the most important requirements for staying inside those circles.
What I'm saying is, in business, nothing is coincidental, or you would be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew. Don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama. Only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they this $20 million guy, but they reached $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these businesses.
In most professions, skill, experience, and professionalism help people move forward. But according to these claims, Hollywood often rewards obedience just as much as talent. Former assistants, planners, and security workers have sometimes described situations where people were expected to follow certain rules without questioning them. Some argue that public embarrassment or humiliation can be used as a way to test loyalty. The idea is that once someone agrees to compromise their dignity, they become less likely to speak out later. Supporters of this theory say that this creates a culture of control rather than independence. Refusing to participate does not simply mean declining an invitation, it can mean rejecting an entire system. The discussion often points to Kevin Hart's appearance on Saturday Night Live and addresses an example. Shortly afterward, his career continued to grow rapidly, leading some critics to claim that he accepted opportunities that others refused. Whether fair or not, this comparison is often used to contrast his path with Katt Williams' experience.
Let's be very, very clear. It is possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress. And if that's the case, then it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress. Okay, well, I watched all of my friends throughout my entire life be able to dunk a basketball, but not me. So everybody can't do everything. So, some of us make choices. I think it's not a biggest choice for others. I'm saying at the end of the day, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing people before him. So now we have Big Mama's house 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next. Okay. Some of us are against the Illuminati. We are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them. Nobody likes them. End quote.
According to this perspective, Katt Williams paid a heavy price for refusing to follow along. It was not only about losing acting jobs or comedy opportunities. Supporters argue that he also lost momentum at a critical point in his career. Once powerful people decided he would not cooperate, they believe negative stories about him became more common. Rumors spread, and public perception began to change. It became easier for people to see him as controversial rather than focus on his success and talent. In this version of events, the truth struggled to compete with headlines and public criticism. Katt supporters believe he carried knowledge that many people preferred to keep hidden. Whether those beliefs are correct or not, they argue that his refusal to remain silent made him a target. To them, the damage to his reputation was not accidental, but part of a larger effort to make his voice less influential.
They don't want him or me or people like us. But now, it's not necessary for us to stir up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times. I'm still not going to join, but I respect them a little more.
All right. How do you handle that? Because they put your name in the press with a lot of rumors and a lot of situations that they try to put on Katt Williams. Do you feel ever the need to, I got to go defend this and put out a story about who I am, or do you just let that kind of roll off your back?
As you can see, I've let it all go for quite some time, and a lot of that is just based upon the fact that I don't really know how to complain because all of the people that I ever looked up to had to go through it too. So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my uncles. So now I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but I'm concrete in all things because of He who strengthens me. So that doesn't mean I always make the right decisions, but I am going to stand by what I stand.
Kevin Hart was not the only person used as an example in these discussions. According to this viewpoint, success in Hollywood is not always just about talent, hard work, or popularity. It is also about being accepted into powerful circles where influence, favors, and loyalty matter. Many people dream of joining the highest levels of the entertainment industry, but critics argue that there are often unspoken expectations attached to that success. Katt Williams has suggested that advancement is not determined by race or background alone, but by who is willing to follow the rules of the system. He describes networks of powerful individuals who support each other and decide who gets opportunities. Those who refuse to participate may find themselves locked out, regardless of their talent. According to this narrative, Katt tried to expose these issues and was met with silence, criticism, and resistance. His phone stopped ringing, opportunities became harder to find, and his reputation suffered. Supporters believe he became a threat because he refused to conform and because he continued speaking openly about things others preferred to keep private. They argue that beneath the surface are powerful alliances that protect insiders while pushing outsiders away.
Things are handled when it's not intentional. When things go smoothly but they seem chaotic, that means there was forethought and a plan. Somebody, even if it looks like, yeah, Janet Jackson just had a wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, there's no such thing.
Correct.
I don't care who you blame.
I believe that.
Somebody benefited. So in all of these situations, there's a business involved and there's real money involved, and somebody's benefiting from this thing that looks like, oh, that just happened. Nah, no way. No way. It would be hard for a homeless guy to get into the Hollywood Bowl, let alone a homeless guy be able to rush the stage and actually.
So you're saying same for Dave Chappelle and this random homeless person. I thought the same thing. I'm like, how did he rush the stage? I've been to Hollywood Bowl. How do you rush the stage?
Look. This is the business. We're in the business where make-believe happens, where the job is to have something that costs 9 cents for us to make, and we sell it for $4.99 to you for a good deal. And it's okay that it costs us 9 cents. But in this business, the star is the commodity. These are real people, real lives. When you see things happen and you don't have all of the information. There is a business where they fiddle with the perception of the people, and that's part of the job. Back in the day, it used to be called propaganda. Now it's just called business. They don't say we got to smear the candidate, they smear them. Whoever made you is who is qualified to break you. That's the end of it. When they bought you and put you on that Fox show, it was because you were going to do this and only this. You'll never do that. As soon as you breach that, they done with you too.
According to critics of the industry, many people are willing to accept uncomfortable situations if they believe it will help them become successful. Some sign agreements, accept certain roles, attend private events, and do whatever is necessary to move forward in their careers. In return, they may gain fame, money, influence, and opportunities they always wanted. But supporters of Katt Williams' perspective ask an important question. What happens later? What happens when the industry no longer needs you? What happens when the benefits of success are no longer enough to outweigh the personal sacrifices that were made? They argue that while the rewards can be enormous, the long-term cost may also be significant. Success may look perfect from the outside, but some people may struggle privately with decisions they made along the way. This idea is often presented as one of the hidden realities behind fame and fortune.
Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose.
Terrence Howard says he is not sharing these stories simply to create controversy. Instead, he speaks as someone who believes he has seen the sacrifices people make in order to gain access to powerful opportunities. According to him, the cost is not limited to careers or financial success. It can also affect a person's identity, confidence, peace of mind, and sense of self-worth. Once someone crosses a line they never thought they would cross, it can be difficult to forget or move on from that experience. Terrence argues that the entertainment industry does not offer a way to undo those choices. He points to celebrities such as Justin Bieber as examples of people who have appeared to struggle under the pressure of fame. Public breakdowns, emotional difficulties, and personal challenges are often viewed by supporters of this theory as signs of deeper problems. Terrence believes that some celebrities are not simply dealing with the pressure of success, but with the consequences of choices and experiences that continue to affect them long after they became famous.
I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean
When
anything.
people hear stories like these, stories surrounded by years of rumors, controversy, and secrecy, they often begin asking larger questions. The biggest concern, according to Katt Williams and Terrence Howard's supporters, is not the system itself, but how easily warnings are ignored. For many years, Katt Williams was mocked, turned into memes, and dismissed as someone who was simply trying to create attention. Terrence Howard was often described as difficult or controversial, yet supporters argue that both men were trying to highlight problems they believed existed behind the scenes. Whether people agree with them or not, their message has continued to attract attention as new headlines appear. They argue that Hollywood still rewards loyalty, discourages criticism, and depends on silence from those inside the system. However, they also believe that more people are beginning to question how the industry works. If Katt Williams and Terrence Howard ever decide to share everything they know without limitations or outside influence, their supporters believe it could create an even bigger conversation about power, fame, and control in Hollywood.